Hello, everyone. I come on here briefly because I want to talk about the different communication styles as we have been in our free 10-step e-guide on how to date effectively. We talked about in step 4, knowing how the person that you are dating is able to communicate or even how they receive, what are their communication styles. Because we talked about it briefly, I did want to talk about it tonight so we can just give more input and insight about the different communication styles. As you guys know, no one's perfect, so there are moments where we think about how we communicated and ways that we could have communicated better, or we just think about different ways we can communicate that may have been more effective. I want to talk about that tonight. I first want to thank anyone who has had the opportunity to review our free 10-step e-guide on how to date effectively. Thank you for all the feedback, everyone who has submitted their email. If you are interested in receiving the free 10-step e-guide on how to date effectively, it's currently available at www.ourfaithconnects.com. Once you register your email, you will be able to receive a free copy of that. So we have 10 steps. I've done a few videos already regarding step 1, test the fruit. Step 2, get to know your date. And step 4, know the differences. There are 10 steps as well as a bonus checklist, which is the dating checklist. And you can kind of check that off as you're getting to know new people. In step 4, know the differences, because we talked about communication and knowing how that person communicates. I wanted to talk about it tonight. Share my screen. So let's talk about the different types of communication styles. As you know, there's way more different ways to communicate, but I did list a few here in hopes it would be helpful to you. When you understand the way someone communicates, you will be able to communicate in the way that they receive, they understand, they comprehend. It shows that your attentiveness to their need, sometimes speaking or not speaking. It shows your seriousness to know what they have to say. And then it also shows any toxic traits people have when they are communicating. So let's talk about it tonight. Nonverbal communications, we're going to talk about some nonverbal communications as well as some verbal communication styles as well. So the first one we're going to talk about is physical affection. A form of comfort can be physical touch. Say you are having a discouraging day because you heard bad news, and at this moment, there's nothing anyone can say to you at all to make you feel better because you're grieving the day. It was a rough day. You heard some negative things and you're just not feeling your best. However, your significant other comes and gives you a hug for 7 minutes without saying a word. This intimate moment was the type of embracing that you needed. They understood that this is the way that you receive, and they were able to show up for you in that way. This allowed for you to release tension and to relax. They acknowledged your mood and they responded in a way that you were able to receive it. That's a beautiful thing. There are moments where you don't have to say anything, but just the embracing, just to know, I'm here with you. I'm supportive of you. It's okay. Relax, calm down. It's going to be better without saying anything, but just embracing you. So that's a nonverbal communication because you received it and it actually helped with your mood. It calmed you down. 2, silence. Sometimes silence is an effective communication style because there are times you may just want to be heard and you want to share the information. There are moments where we just want to express what's on our heart and our mind. We don't want feedback. We don't want advice. We just want to be heard. And silence at times can speak volumes, and it can show that you are in agreement with what they're sharing. Silence can be effective. Knowing when to speak up on things and knowing when to be silent and allow that person to express themselves is key. Next, direct eye contact. This nonverbal communication style shows undivided attention, the I am here with you energy. It gives full focus to the information being shared and that it matters. When someone is giving you direct eye contact, they're not on their phone, they're not watching TV, they're not cooking, they're not cleaning, they're not writing things down, they're giving you their undivided attention. It's a way of communicating. With undivided engagement and quality time, it communicates in the moment that they are the priority. So everything is being pushed aside, doesn't matter who's calling, doesn't matter who else needs them, they're giving you their undivided attention. And it will feel comforting to know that what you have to say matters to them enough to stop everything that they're doing to hear you out. Next, under nonverbal communications, servicing. So when you are doing things for another person without being asked, shows that you understand the needs and you fulfilled them in real time. They didn't even have to ask you, but you did it. For example, say you have been expressing that you feel overworked by cleaning the house daily. Every time you come home, you're always cleaning. But this last time you came home, the house was clean, the dishes were washed, and you didn't even have to ask anyone to do it. The need was fulfilled. It was communicated that you were tired and you felt overworked, but it was understood in the person's actions to ensure that when you came home the next day, the house was clean. This is a nonverbal communication where you're being heard, you're being understood, and what you would have liked to be done was done without you even needing to ask to be done. We're going to move forward in verbal communication styles. However, before we do, I personally believe an effective communication style is gentleness, mindful word choices, delivery and conversation, gentle touch, soft tone, calmness, creating peaceful environments, being patient, non-argumentative, and understanding when silence is needed. There are times that you can use nonverbal and verbal communication styles to create an overall form of communicating based on the other person's ability to understand and receive. So you can actually formulate a way of communicating with someone based on your observation of how they understand or how they're able to receive. And you can use nonverbal communications as well as verbal communications for you to understand them or for you to get your point across. We're going to talk about verbal communication. So verbal conversation can show either a healthy or an unhealthy dialect. A dialect can show authenticity and character when communicating. We know that there's healthy ways of communicating and there's unhealthy ways of communicating. And although we say that we know these things, it doesn't always show up in our day-to-day conversations. So I do just want to talk about it briefly tonight. So healthy communications consist of honesty. So when you're looking to speak with someone, whether it's to problem solve, whether it's to give advice, well, whether it's to be real with them, you want to be honest. Despite how they take it, you want to be honest. Now, you can be gentle in your delivery or how you say it and your choosing of word, but it's important that we are honest with them. Consideration of tone and delivery. There are times when people's voices may be raised or even the way that they deliver a message, the person is not receiving what's being said. They're looking more at the delivery of how it was said. And there are people that are offended easily. So instead of taking the words and adhering to the message, they're focused on delivery and tone. So when you're having a healthy communication with someone, you want to make sure that we're considering our tone of voice and how we're delivering the message. especially if we know that this person is always offended, this person is emotional, this person is not really receptive to feedback or just disagreements. There are some people that can't agree to disagree, and that's a whole thing. They want people just to agree with them. So we want to be considerate of our tone level and the way that we're delivering the message. Now, don't get me wrong, there are times where we just got to give it straight how it is, but just being mindful the timing. Is it the time to do that? Healthy communications consist of intentional discussion. So if you're going into a conversation with someone, it has to be intentional. Whatever the purpose is to have that conversation, being intentional about whatever is being discussed, whatever problem needs to be solved, whatever feedback needs to be given, whatever needs to be shared, it's intentional. Healthy dialogue, especially if there's two people talking, we want to make sure we're taking turns speaking, not over talking one another just to get one point across and ignoring the other. We're giving time for each of us to have a conversation. So one moment you talk, the next moment they talk. Healthy dialogue. Healthy communication consists of comprehension and understanding. Coming into the conversation, wanting to understand, wanting to comprehend, wanting to get to know what they are actually saying and what they mean by what they're saying. There are times where people lack comprehension skills, and it doesn't matter what you say to them, they just don't get it. And that's a whole nother story. But if you're going into a conversation, you want to go into the conversation with an intent to understand what they have to say. Next, being level-minded, not having too many thoughts or things on your mind in the time of having the conversation. So you're open and receptive to whatever needs to be discussed without bringing up the past or yesterday or redirecting conversation. You're in a place to speak on what needs to be talked about in the moment. Coming in the conversation with a calm attitude, and you're coming into the conversation ready to talk. And if there is a problem that needs to be resolved, you're coming into the conversation with an intent to resolve the problem, not the intent to escalate the problem, not the intent to feed the problem, not an intent to just complain about the problem. You're coming into the conversation looking to resolve the problem. What is the issue? And you're ready to talk. If you're not ready to talk, then it's easy for someone to be sidetracked with other things, not really paying attention. And we're going to talk about unhealthy communications next. But if you are looking to communicate with someone, that person has to be ready to talk about it, whatever it is. Next, unhealthy communications. This consists of being argumentative. You're ready to pick a fight. You're ready to start a fight. You're just ready to come at them. You just in your mind, you're meditating the perfect moment to trigger the conversation. That's unhealthy. Aggressiveness, loud and over talking. So someone, when you're trying to speak with someone, they just keep over talking. You're like, I haven't even got a moment to speak my piece or speak a word. You just keep over talking me. How are you listening to me if you keep over talking? But you'll notice when people start to over talk, there's multiple reasons why people over talk you. One of them, it may not be what you have to say is important to them. It may be that it's not important. Or it could be that now they're getting escalated or they're starting to become aggressive or irritated with the conversation. So they're trying to shut the conversation down without resolve because now they're getting angry, so they want to cut it short. Unhealthy communication consists of shaming, being judgmental. Someone is expressing something to you, being open or vulnerable with you. You just pointing the finger, you're just being super judgmental. You're not listening to understand. You're listening to pinpoint their flaws. Next, unhealthy communication. Ignoring. When someone's like, hello, are you listening? And you just ignoring it, you acting as if you don't hear, is an unhealthy way of communicating. People who tend to ignore in the conversation, they weren't ready to talk about it. So you will see them ignoring you. Redirecting the conversation too. There are times where people may feel triggered in the conversation. So they'd be like, oh, but what about when you did this or when this happened, right? They're now redirecting the conversation to something that happened in the past, or they're redirecting the conversation to something about them. But when you have maturity and you have wisdom, you're not going to allow them to redirect the conversation. We'll get to this momentarily. But right now, we're talking about this circumstance, this situation right here. You're able to then not allow them to redirect the conversation. Oh, but they did this, or but this happened. But what about when? No. Mm-mm. We'll talk about that later. We're going to talk about this thing that I'm talking about right now. Everything else can wait until we find a resolve for this that I'm discussing. So when people are always trying to redirect the conversation, whether to another topic or themselves, it's an unhealthy way of communicating. Zoning out of conversations. There are times where people zone out. They may be having a lot on their mind. So it's not intentionally that they're zoning out, but they're envisioning something else, another problem, another circumstance they have to address. It could be so many different things that could be on their mind in the moment of conversation, which is why I personally like to ask people when I'm in the midst of about to have a deep conversation, what is your mind space? What headspace are you in to receive what I have to say? I always ask that. What is your headspace right now? Because I know that everyone is going through something, and we don't want to just pour out everything on them, not acknowledging what they may have going on. And if there's someone that you're conversing with that zones out, there may be other things that's on their mind at the time of conversation. It's not intentional, but it's still unhealthy. Unhealthy communications consist of no intent to understand or find resolve. So at that moment, this person just want to get out what they have to say and run. They have no intent to understand the other person or find a resolve for the problem or the issue that is at hand. They don't want to understand. They don't want to comprehend. They just wanted to have the conversation to say what they needed to say. And that's it. I can't wait to say what I gotta say. Just wait till I see them. That's no intent to understand. You're so more focused on releasing what you have to say opposed to their view or perspective of what is about to be said as well. Belittling and degrading, unhealthy communication style. You want to belittle someone or make them feel small or less than in a conversation. It's unhealthy. Oh, but I have more than you. I have this, I have that. You don't have it. Being degrading in a conversation is unhealthy way of communicating, boastful, bragging about what you have, being very cocky, real cocky, right? It's not healthy way of communicating. Talk to me when you get your money up. Talk to me when you have your own. Talk to me when, right? It's degrading and it's an unhealthy way of communicating. Because now it sounds as if that person is looking to offend someone. You're looking for an argument at this moment. All right, so those were the healthy and unhealthy ways of communicating. So if any of that stood out to you, take it to God in prayer, especially if there's any unhealthy ones, and ask for God to help you in those areas so that you can communicate more effectively. Next, a way to communicate verbally is through prayer. Prayer is an effective way to communicate when someone is expressing to you what they've been going through, and in response, you take the time to pray with them or pray for them. Here, you don't really have anything to say to them, but you just take it to God in prayer. You're covering them in all areas and what they share with you. In that moment, they may feel encouraged, they may feel supported because they feel heard, and we're leaving it in God's hands. There is nothing I could say to take the pain away. There's nothing I can say to make things better for you, but I can pray for you. I can intercede on your behalf. It's a way of communicating, although you're not speaking to them, you're speaking to God about it. Sometimes there is nothing to say. You just got to take it to God in prayer. There's nothing I could do for you in that situation at all. But I'm going to pray for you, and we know that God moves and he changes things. Amen. We thank the good Lord for that. Next, advice and guidance. This is another communication style. This communication style can really help people out of very difficult and challenging problems, whether you're counseling or whether you're coaching or whether you're just giving guidance to someone or just advice that can really help them out of the turmoil that they've been experiencing in the season that they're in. Giving a new perspective, giving a new outlook, giving light to tough situations can really help change the direction of someone's life, and at times can save a life. We don't always know what someone's going through or the shoes they have to walk or really what they're feeling inside at all. And those words of encouragement or that guidance of what to do next may really save their life. There will be moments where God can place a word in your heart to release. And it's important that we release what God shares in our heart to the person, because based on what we share with them, it can drastically change the outcome of their situation. Because maybe they didn't think of it like that. Maybe they were on a path to destruction. Maybe they didn't see things in the way that you did. And because of that guidance, because of that advice, because of those words of encouragement, it really helped them out tremendously. So if you reviewed or watched the step 4 video that I did, and we talked about communication, how do they communicate? This is exactly what I'm talking about. How do they communicate? Do they communicate verbally, non-verbally? What is the communication styles? Do they align with the way that you communicate? Do you understand the way that they communicate? Do they communicate in a toxic way? We got to know how they communicate and whether we understand the way they communicate or if we can deal with it. If we're dealing with someone that has a lot of unhealthy communication styles, then it will probably be hard to have a conversation with them. You don't want, and you may not want to deal with that every day. I mean, every day you're trying to talk to them, they're always ignoring you. Every day they're redirecting the conversation, whether to themselves or about other things that we've been let go. You've been forgave me about that. You've been said you were over and you want to bring it up in a moment that I'm addressing something. No. So we want to know, what ways do they communicate? In the ways that they communicate, think to yourself, is it effective for you? Do you like the way they communicate? Is it something that you can deal with? Just food for thought. And that is really all I wanted to talk about tonight. I pray that this moment of time where we're talking about the different ways of communicating has been very helpful to you. If you do like this video, be sure to subscribe, comment, put your email on our website, www.ourfaithconnects.com, and we will send over our free 10-step e-guide in hopes and prayers that it's a blessing to you as it has been to me. Have a good evening, everyone.